Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Local Wildlife. And yes, cue the dogs. Oh my gosh, I wish one of these days I am literally going to record myself a video of what life is like in the couple minutes before a live. How quiet it is. It's like so nice and quiet here. And then I say, aloha, welcome to the Local Wildlife. And 1 second, I'm going to just close my door a little bit because I've got Mom watching in the other room. Hi, Mom. Love you, my dear. Sorry, I just hit my chair. And also, I don't think you guys can hear anything. If you do, let me know. But I don't think anyone can. It's just soft enough. But if you can hear anything from the other room, let me know. So I think a lot of times I think things are a lot louder than they are. I was talking to Sleuth and PJ the other day and Bop, and they're like, it's not as loud as you're thinking. So I'm hoping that's true. So anyhow, aloha, gang. And Mom, by the way, if you're trying to turn it down, it's fine. Don't worry. My mom's like me. She will be like, oh, I'll turn it down. No, it's fine, girl. Keep it up. Love y'all. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am sitting here feeding dogs treats as we get this thing going. Give y'all a couple minutes for everyone to start working their way into the chat. So while we're waiting on that, and I give puppies very, very good little treats because I tried something new today. I mixed a bunch of goodies together for them. So we'll see how this works. But welcome, welcome, welcome. AJ popped in first. And AJ, I know you're not here right now, but I still wanted to say, hey there. You know what? And AJ's doing what I love to see people do. Sometimes a subject we're going to talk about is triggering. Okay, and that's been one of my biggest concerns about this series on Fridays is, guys, I am not a therapist. I'm not trained. Okay, I've never gone to school to do anything like this. I just talk from my own experience and research. That's what I do. And hello, are you saying hi to everyone, Cass? And also Puppy Bomb. And I worry because we talk about serious shit here. Whoop, there goes the dog. Okay, we talk about some serious stuff. Aw, thank you, my dear Sherry. Thank you. And I want to make sure people have the skills and the tools to deal with this stuff when it does pop up. Yes, we do have videos in the past. Please go back in the past. We have some videos about grounding. So check out that playlist because there's a lot there, and we'll talk about some stuff moving forward also, because I know there's a lot of new people coming in now also. So Cassie, okay, let me get Cassie this stuff. She's been sleeping all morning, really sleeping all day. It's been great. Now she's up. So first of all, hi, AJ, and thank you for taking care of yourself. That's the key to everything is everyone take care of yourself when you're here. Hello, Rena was second in chat. So hello, Miss Rena. Melissa Jade, thank you so much. I'm still excited about this 1,000-bit. I mean, still beyond excited about all of it. So still working on hours, but so excited about that because those are the people. Those are the people that yeah. Oh, there's our new chat attendant called Battissimo. So you guys will be seeing Battissimo hanging out in chat a little bit. Hopefully, Battissimo will behave himself. Unfortunately, the last little guy that I decided to invite got me in a lot of trouble with a couple people because they were typing in caps or yelling at people or things like that and accidentally got timed out. So I decided to give that little bot, actually I could have dealt with it, but I like Battissimo. I like his attitude. And also, Tracy, hello, my dear Tracy. And thank you, by the way, for, yes, because I even caught some typos I had fed to dear old Battissimo. Mama Jane's here. Oh, Savage is here. Yes, and Savage, girl. I get what you're saying, though. Okay, Krama gets to the point where you're just like, I'm done. Done. Okay, I'm going to vent. I have no choice. It's going to come out. So I get that feeling very well. I've been sitting on my hands a lot lately, trying to keep myself from typing things that would get me in trouble. So Mama Jane is here, hey, with her little kittens. Oh my God, fostering. Oh my God, they're baby bottle feeding. Oh my gosh, we're bottle feeding kitties. So cute. Okay, who else do we have here? Panel Dude is here. Hey, Panel Dude. How you doing? Yes, it is Friday and I'm so excited. And there's Grandma Sherry. Hello, my dear. And Cassie's part. Oh, Siren's here. Yeah, it's a rough, I'll be honest with you guys, I've been wanting to talk about loss, grief, bereavement, in all of its routes for a while now. And I work with it. This is an area that I work in real life with. But so many people have been through these things, and you want to make sure you're doing it credit because these emotions are real. And Kenzie, come here, baby girl. So yeah, it's a rough one to deal with. And who else we got? Tim is here. Hello, Tim. And Emu is here. Emu and the gorgeous Van is here. Hello, both of y'all. And Miss Cristola wasn't she? They're really cute when they're asleep. Yeah. Like most anything. They're cute when they sleep. Then they look at you in the face. And I'm like, oh my God, would you stop it? Would you stop it? I get you, girl. You're not getting that treat. You come down here. Okay, gang, let's get to work. Like I mentioned earlier, I know what she's trying to get. She's trying to get her favorite toy, so I'm going to put it over here, and hopefully she'll come over this side. So, like I mentioned with this subject, there's a lot of emotions that come on with this. All of us have dealt with loss in many different ways, and that's what we're going to talk. Loss is not just death in this case. Yes, death is where we tend to talk the most about, but it is not the only type of loss we have. Hi, Cassie. Cassie, come here. Here, let me hold this here. She'll come to me this way. Okay, there she is. I got her. Can you please tell everyone why you're being so noisy? Are you being noisy? Yeah. Okay, you can take your toy right over here. There we go. So, anyone want a dog? And she's jumping behind me. Yeah, she's now behind my back. So, okay, let's try this again. Guys, like I say every week, know your limits, know your boundaries, know where things become triggers for you so that you could address your emotions and take care of yourself. Like we talk every week, we have the new Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 988, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you have issues, contact that. If you're from another country, you have your own there too. I'm trying to put all the phone numbers and all in my description box. So if you know a number that's not in that description box, please head over that way. Cassie, come here. She is just ridiculous today. Or go see Grandma. And also, so let's start this discussion with what are the types of things we grieve? So y'all in chat right now, let's start this discussion. What are some of the things that you guys find that you grieve on a daily basis? Come on, Cassie. Okay, what are some of those things? Okay, we all know probably the biggest one that most of us deal with is death. When we talk about grief, when we talk about losing something and grieving it, mourning something, we talk about, hey, Angie Marie, we talk about mourning people, death. My grandparents are all gone. I lost my dad 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, actually. Gosh, time goes quick. All of us have lost someone in our lives. Okay, when we're younger, I was really lucky in that I did not lose my grandparents until I was in college. I had both my parents with me. I did not really deal with death outside of one, hello, Boots Mama, outside of one friend, a neighbor who killed herself. I did not deal with death. So as we got older, I had to deal with it. And it was something that I was not necessarily ready for it. Boots Mama, you just lost your dad this past May. And that brings on a whole different area, dealing with losing a parent. And then when the second parent comes and things like that, you're losing parts of yourself because parents become such a big part of who you are. So yeah, death is a major reason why we grieve, why we mourn, why we have these emotions that we have to go through. And it is a process. If there's one thing I'm hoping people will get from this is that grief and bereavement is not a start-stop type thing, okay? There is not a finish line. This is something that you work on and you keep working on for the rest of your life. Okay, yes, it gets better, and it does get better, but there's so much that goes into trying to learn what life is like without a loved one in your life. Now, on the other hand, it's not just death. Okay, there's other losses we have in our life. Okay, number one, loss of friendships. Hey, Susan. How many of you guys in chat have lost someone in your life, not death, but you've lost that relationship? It might have been a really good friend. Hey, PJ. It might have been your best friend. It might have been a romantic relationship. It may actually have been a person you married. Okay, all those things are things we need to grieve. And a lot of times I think what happens is we go through this next group of people and things that we lose and we need to mourn. We feel, oh, well, it's not a death, so it doesn't matter. Okay, like, I mean, I shouldn't be this upset about losing my best friend. Okay, they just moved to another country or they just moved to another state. I don't need to worry about it. Okay, it should not be hurting me as much as a death would have. Yeah, it does. Okay, it is still a loss. It is still a part of you that is not there on a day-to-day basis anymore. So next, tied in with that, okay, with moving and stuff, it's that losing your community. Okay, maybe you move, you up and have to move. Okay, maybe, and this is, okay, let's talk YouTube. Maybe you get to the point where you're like, I can't handle all this drama or anything else anymore. I'm backing off and I'm taking care of myself, putting my boundaries in place and all that. Doesn't mean that you're not going to grieve the time that you were here. Okay, same with a friend. You leave a group of friends. Maybe there's a clique that you've been part of in high school or something like that. And you're like, you know, I just can't do this. I need to move on. You still need to grieve that. You still need to deal with the emotions that that brings on. Susan just said, I lost a relationship with my oldest son. Bingo. He wants nothing to do with me, so I'm not going to chase him. Life has been rough. Oh, girl, I'm sorry. I'm sorry your life has been. When you've got all these interpersonal relationships are some of the hardest things to deal with because we want to understand what's going on in the other person's mind, but we can't. All we know is what's going on in our own mind. We can try to figure out how they feel based off of how we would feel, but we're all different. And that thing, okay, that was your community. Your child is a community. A family unit is a community. And that idea of having to move or move on, in this case, makes some changes for you. And so next is illness. I know we have a lot of people here right now who are dealing with a lot of illnesses. Okay, cancer, COVID, pulmonary embolisms, things, all sorts of different things. And with those come loss. Okay, any of you guys who have gone through the diagnosis of cancer, you know what that's like. When all of a sudden you get told your life as you know it has now changed. your life and how you lived it before is not the way it's going to be in the future. Okay, in the case of a breathing thing, okay, your ability to do exercise like before or other things changes, and you mourn what was the past. You are scared of the future. Okay, what is the future going to do? And this can be illness for yourself or illness for someone else. Okay, say you have a loved one who you pick up the phone one morning and you get a call from your dad. And he's like, hon, I just got back from the doctor and I've got stage 4 lung cancer. Right in that moment, you go into the same type of grief that you're dealing with on so many of these other areas. Hey, here she goes. So, and Boots Mama, exactly, a diagnosis of DID. Okay, you've got to go through that mourning. Okay, and then even there, you've got additional things you're dealing with on top of that. So illness truthfully becomes something that we grieve. Another is just relationships. Okay, we're in a country where there is a lot of divorce. Okay, there's a lot of us who have broken up just regular relationships. Boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. Okay, the two of you decide, you know what, this is not the relationship that we were hoping for, and we decide to go our different ways. You need to grieve that relationship, because all of us know when you're in a relationship with someone else, that changes to some degree who you are, because you're kind of meshing into, you're your own individuals, but you're creating a new side of yourself, new ways that you see love and life and everything else. And when it disappears, all of that disappears with it. And what you're left with is the same sense of mourning that you would get in many other things. Another one is business. You get a new job. You decide to leave a job. You get a new boss, and you have to, all of a sudden you're dealing with all the emotions of dealing with new boss's way of dealing with stuff, new schedule. Maybe all of a sudden you're now working night shift instead of day shift. And you've always, day shift kind of created your identity of who you were. So as you're seeing here, mourning is so much more, grieving is so much more than just death. One that I'm hearing a lot right now, and it's this time of year, is your child getting older. How many of you remember when you dropped your child off to their first day of pre-K? Okay, that grieving of your baby. Your baby's not your baby anymore. Your baby's now going into school. Okay, or your child now going into junior high school. Okay, they're not that little child anymore. They're now a preteen. Or they graduate and they go off to college or move out on their own. You start mourning what was. Yes, you've got amazing things in the future, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt just as bad to have to say goodbye to the baby that you got to hold and cuddle and stuff like that. Okay, so all these things do start to play into everything. And just last is more of an emotional level of grief. Things happen in our lives quite often that change who we are. Okay, maybe you've been through some sort of situation that, whether it be a traumatic situation, okay, we talk about things such as assault, abuse, things like that, which get us to a point where we feel this loss, not of a person, not of a job, but loss of trust, loss of who we are, loss of control. Yeah, you actually do need to mourn even things like that. Now, they're all going to be different. Okay, mourning the loss of control that you might have had, okay, at one point in your life, and then something happens that makes you completely lose that control, and you see it as a long-term thing, or whatever the reason is, okay, it's going to be a different type of mourning. The reasonings behind it and some of the emotions are going to be different than, say, mourning a parent who passes away or a child who passes away. But it's still mourning that child and mourning that change in you. Hey, Louisiana girl, love you, my dear. So the first thing, way back, the first time I actually started looking into this subject was, I kind of alluded to the fact that one of my friends, one of the girls I knew and grew up in the neighborhood with and all, killed herself when she was in high school. I was in 8th grade at the time. And I actually was able to see her body. We took care of my family, took her siblings in that night, and we all went to Pizza Hut to kind of get their mind off of what was going on and stuff like that. And I'm the type of person, if you haven't figured this out yet, I do better when I have control, when I understand what's going on in my life. As a 8th grader trying to figure out what just happened, I started doing tons of research. Okay, researching, yes, things such as ending your life, but also researching death. Okay, and through there, I was introduced to the 7 stages. Actually, back then it was the 5 stages of grief by Kubla-Ross. This is one. Hey guys, put a 1 in chat if you've ever heard of Kubla-Ross and her 5 stages of grief. Put a 2 if you're like, oh, this is going to be new information for me. Hey, that girl, I was hoping you would come in. That girl also has tons of experience on this through work also. And I'm hoping we can even look into this even further and do some more in-depth stuff in the future. So we're getting a couple 1s, a couple 2s here and stuff like that. This was one of the first things that I came across, and it honestly did help me because as an 8th grade, sorry, someone's nail is caught in their hair. Okay, as an 8th grader trying to understand my emotions, why I was feeling the way that I was feeling, I truly needed to understand these phases. Okay, stages, not phases, but stages. That it was normal to feel the way that I was feeling. It was normal to bounce all over the place and one day be angry and the next day, okay, be wanting to bargain my way through life and everything. Okay, I needed to understand that. So what I wanted to do is start this next section by describing these phases. Now, those of you who remember the old school days of Kubla-Ross, we had 5 stages of grief. Over the years, 2 additional ones have been added in, and I will address those 2 as we go through. And the first one is actually one of those stages that got added in over time. And that's the first stage any of us are going to go through most likely when we deal with a major loss. Okay, whether that is a job, someone's death, a diagnosis, okay, illness diagnosis, whatever it is, welcome back, PJ. No matter what it is, shock tends to be one of the first stages we hit. This is that one, okay, you see when someone finds out they have lost a loved one, and I know when we talk throughout this rest of the time, a lot of times we're going to find ourselves going back towards death. Okay, but remember, this is any type of loss in general. If you lose a job, okay, say you get fired from a job, the first thing you go through is that shock. You're like, WTF? What the fuck? You're just, okay, you lose someone that you love. Okay, it's like, even if you know they're going to pass away. When I lost my dad, I knew it was moments, if not hours, if not moments away, I knew it was going to happen. But the moment it happened, you're just like, oh, everything just freezes. Time freezes. You're just like, for a couple minutes, seconds, whatever it is, everything freezes. The world as it is freezes and just stops. Okay. Your mind just, it's kind of, we get that, okay, adrenaline rush type thing where everything just freezes and then boom, everything happens all at once. That's kind of what's happening in that type of moment. That is the moment when all of your emotions are hitting all over the place at once. You can't make sense of it even if you tried. And also what your body does is your body shuts it down for a second so you can start addressing everything. So this is a more short term. For some people, it might be longer term. Okay, so many different things that are going on, but this is that first stage that almost everyone will go through at one level or another with a loss. Again, like I said, death, job loss, getting that word that you've got cancer or heart issues or lung issues or whatever, you go through that shock initially and all. Now, as we move into these other stages, one of the important things I think for everyone to understand, there is no normal way of dealing with loss. Grieving is not, there is not, even all the books that you read about them. Okay. It's not like it's a textbook. You open it up and okay, oh, here I am. Page 42. That's me. Okay. Oh, so tomorrow is page 44. This is what's going to happen. No. Okay. You may today feel one stage and then the next day feel another stage. And then 2 months after that, feel a stage that you already went through and thought you were done with. There is no normal. There is no normal way of mourning anything. I know my mom, and I'm sorry, I know mom's watching this right now, and she and I talk a lot about this ever since losing dad. Okay, you kind of get women, men who have lost a significant other, you kind of get this idea in your head, this is what the normal way, I'm supposed to mourn this way. But you realize very quickly, there is no normal. Because if you start saying that this is what the normal is, because this is what you've seen on all the TV shows, this is what you've read in all the books, this is what you've heard on Facebook all the time, chances are your mourning, your feelings of loss and grief are going to be different. And that's who you are. We're all individuals. And it may take longer for some people, shorter for others. So the next stage, or one of the stages a lot of people get into, is just denial. Okay, this one is very, okay, we've seen, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the Broadway show Next to Normal. It is about, hey, Sleuth Mom, try to sneak in, girl, just try to sneak in, yeah. And Next to Normal, you've got the story of a family. And in this, the mother loses her little boy due to illness when he's a baby. But due to mental health issues and everything, she ends up never accepting that he's died. Okay, and she sees him. Okay, and she has a number of mental health issues, disabilities, things like that. And, but she never denial, that's where it was from the get-go. She was denying the fact that she had lost her child. Okay, her child was still, she would see her child, for example, in her case. But this is the case, maybe you get the diagnosis of cancer and you're like, no, I'm going to go get a second, a third, fourth opinion. I will get as many opinions as I need to because this can't be. This can't be. And so denial is something, and yeah, I think it's there a lot of times because it's helping us. These emotions that we're going through are hard to accept. And many times, if we try to accept all of them at once, it's going to become way too much for us. So sometimes denial gives us that ability to accept on a time frame that we can. You're going to hear at times I'm going to talk about normal loss and traumatic loss or grief. Okay, traumatic grief can come from many different things. Okay, it can be anything from the age of the person that you're dealing with, how they pass away or how they lose their job or whatever it is that's happening. Denial definitely in those cases become very much more something to help them in accepting things so they can continue moving forward because they accept as they get through it. Okay, if you've got cancer, okay, one of the ways that you can come to terms with it is by denying it and going and getting that second, third, fourth, okay, opinion. Because each time you're getting a little bit more of this feeling like, okay, and you're allowing that denial is slowly being backed off on because you're getting more and more facts there rather than just that straight in your face. Another one, and this one was rough for me because I've talked to many of you guys before. I don't get angry like most people do. It's just weird about me, but I don't. Now, my mom will say, yes, I get angry. And yeah, trust me, I do there. But when it comes to a lot of things, it takes, anger is something that scares me. Oh, the whole idea of anger will scare me. I don't know what you want, little girl. And, but anger becomes, especially in a case, okay, if a boss lets you go, even if it was something, it was coming, okay, you will get so freaking pissed at that boss. How dare they ever do that to you? I mean, I was doing this right and I was doing this right and I was, okay, and all of your anger goes out towards the fact that you lost the job. Okay, or if it's something with illness, okay, you find out this thing we were talking about a few minutes ago about your dad calls you up and says, hey, I got stage 4, lung cancer. Okay, you get angry, and we talk about people. They'll get angry at their doctor. Okay, we've heard stories of people getting so angry at their doctor for the news that they will actually retaliate against their doctor because that anger is so hard for them to get past. You get angry at God. For those of you out there with faith, you may find yourself getting angry at God. Why would you take my baby away? Okay, why would you put my child through that type of pain? No God would ever do something like that. Okay, all these things may be going through if lung cancer diagnosis. Why the hell? How stupid were they? They were smoking every single day, and now look what happened. That anger there is normal. Yet for many of us, and I just noticed in here also, Grandma Sherry just said she doesn't get angry either. Anger for so many of us is the equivalent of losing control. And for a lot of people, we like to have control over things. So when you're in the middle of loss and you start feeling that anger, okay, a lot of us, especially those who don't like to feel that loss of control, will shut that down quickly, and we don't want to feel it. So we shut that down, we pile on top of it so that we don't feel that anger. Problem is, in doing that to any of these stages, if you don't allow yourself to feel the emotion, okay, if you don't honor, in fact, I almost named this video Honoring Grief, because that's what it is. You do have to honor the emotions that you're dealing with. When you don't, when you shut it down, that anger stays inside of you until the point where we all hear the stories all the time. Someone blows up because they've just, all of a sudden, the anger has gotten so bad that they finally blow up. And allowing yourself to feel that is such an important bit. So I'm trying to keep an eye on chat too. Cristela, what was Cristela? Oh, I see what you're saying there. After I don't get the anger anymore from things that bother. See, and that's it. A lot of it is learning how to deal with things, PJ. Okay, working with a therapist or something to figure out how to deal with the emotions. JP, you get angry at just yourself, but you don't hold it long. That's, yeah. See, and that's it. I run into the anger thing. I'm getting better at it. But there was a time, oh my gosh, it was horrible. My mom would be the first one to tell you when we'd have a huge fight at the end of the day. Okay, I literally would not let them go to sleep until we made up because I was so scared that something would happen overnight and we would have had our last couple moments having a fight. Okay, so we get all these things that go on and everything it fuels other concerns we have. So the next stage, a lot of times you will find yourself going through is the bargaining stage. And this is one a lot of us have heard about before. Okay, you hear about the stage of bargaining after, okay? And a lot of times, and the easiest way to see the bargaining, but I've seen it in other areas also, is with God. You know what, God, if you would please just take this away, take this cancer away, or take whatever it is that that you feel you've been given by him away, I promise I will be a good person moving on. I will never yell at people. I will do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. And you have this huge long list of things that you promise that you will do differently if it doesn't happen. And we start playing those things in our head. Or if it's something like divorce, okay, and you're going through the whole discussion, you may find yourself doing the same thing in that kind of situation. If I only do this, and this differently, it will all change. Everything will go back to the way it's supposed to be. And Cassie, come here. She's sitting here growling right now because I don't know what she wants. She wants something though. So, yep, there she goes. And so next is depression. This I found, for me at least, seems to be one of the more longer lasting areas for me. But I think a lot of times it gets to become longer because of the fact many times we are not willing to accept the emotions as they come our direction. Okay. And when you don't accept the emotions as they are, then you find yourself going in these cycles, feeling the same emotions, feeling the same fears, sadness, whatever it is. And depression especially. When you've lost something or someone, you're left with all of these ifs. Okay, you're left with this loneliness at times, especially if it's a person related. What do you do without that person in your life? Maybe that person every single day would walk into work and buy you a coffee or something like that. And you start missing that part of it. And when you don't know what to deal with those emotions, the emotions stay there. That sadness, that feeling that nothing will ever get better, they stay there because in a way you feel like you're in this rut, that you're just cycling through the same emotions over and over. When in reality, a lot of times what it is the emotions are there and you're feeling them, but you're not honoring them. You're not acknowledging them. You're not saying this is okay to feel this way. And I'm going to change these emotions and work this way. Especially in a case where you haven't ever dealt with this type of thing before. Okay. And I think in the case of death, especially, a lot of people have gone through one death. Okay. Maybe you lost a grandparent when you're a child. And then you deal with another death later on, and you're expecting it to be just the same as this previous death. All your reactions are going to be the same exact thing, right? They're not. Okay, our relationships are different. And as our relationships with each person's different, so will our response. Okay, as we get older, we also deal with things differently. And that's going to change the way we deal with it. Cassie, can your baby, 1 second, I'm trying to find a treat that she might want. So the next one we have here is actually one of the newer stages. I mentioned that we have two new stages. This next one is called testing. Okay, this is when we start testing out what the future might look like. Okay, say you're, come here, Cassie. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with her today. You're seeing where life is going to be different. Okay, maybe you lost your job and you're trying to figure out, where is life going to take me? What is it that I need to do differently now? And you have to start coming to terms with these new ideas. And you're going to test some of those ideas out. Okay, you're going to test, how am I going to handle finances now? How am I going to... So you start looking at those things. What we got from JP here. Ooh, ready for deepness. What should be number one is taking care of yourself and staying mentally. Oh, I know. Isn't it surprising? We should actually take care of ourselves. What a surprising thought, huh? And also, but yeah, so this is honestly, from what I'm seeing here, testing, because this was a new idea for me when I saw it. The idea of testing as a stage of dealing with your grief shows me that the person is moving on. They're starting to look at what life is going to be like now. And they're recognizing it might be different. I might have to do things that are different moving on now. So what is it that I need to do? So it's a positive step. So that's why all these steps have this positive level of helping us learn something about ourselves as we move forward. They allow us to come to terms with whatever needs to be we need to come to terms with, okay, in a time of our own. And like I said before, you tested mastering today. Oh, yes. And you may go back and forth. You might be testing stuff, okay, and kind of coming to terms with things. And then all of a sudden, you may find yourself right back to anger because you're looking at how am I going to make my monthly bills now that I don't have my husband around? Okay, and you're starting to test ideas. Maybe he paid all the bills and all, and you're starting to take on those tools and things like that. And then all of a sudden you hit a roadblock that you didn't expect. And now you're right back to being freaking pissed off and you're going through anger again. And that's fine because you're still working through all those issues. And then the last is acceptance. Now, something I want to mention with acceptance. So many times we see acceptance. When I was an 8th grader looking at this, I saw acceptance as hit the end. Yes, yes, yes. I don't need to deal with any of this crap anymore. Yes, I love it. No. You know what? You can head out of acceptance on one level and find yourself right back in denial on certain things or right back in bargaining. Okay. And also, after losing, and this is death especially, but any of these things, after we lose something, we literally spend the rest of our lives having things happen that make us realize what we lost. Okay, if you think about it, in the case of losing my dad, okay, it took years to kind of go through things, but I still go through little moments of my life where I'm like, oh God, I wish Dad was here to see this right now. Okay, and it still hurts, and it's still, the emotions are there. And okay, what if I got married and I didn't have my dad to walk me down the aisle? That's going to bring back many of these stages again because I'm dealing with a new way the loss of him is affecting my life. So we never really hit that end spot. Okay, but what we're doing is we're learning new ways for each one. Cristola Loco, do you think some of us are desensitized because we've been through so much? We're told we're strong, but not. Oh, I think a lot of us do that. Whether it's others tell us that we're strong and can handle it, or we tell ourselves that we're strong and can handle it. If you think of it, all of us have to mourn. We all have to mourn. Okay, now we're going to mourn at different levels. For one person, mourning might be a much more active process. But for other people, it might be, okay, something they can kind of work their way through just because that's how they deal with everything. They don't work as deeply on stuff. Okay, things don't affect them as much. Sherry, just 7 of my family members died within a 2-year time frame. Bingo, you get that much. And I know, Cristola, you and I've talked too. Okay, when you get a lot of loss in a row, do you ever truly get through grieving in the same way someone who would go through grieving just one person's loss might be? You're approaching things in a different way. You're trying to keep things together. It's like a parent. If a parent loses their significant other, okay, are they grieving in the same way as someone who has a child that they still have to raise versus someone without a child? They may have to desensitize themselves, I think, to some degree, because they're trying to be there for other people. But you still deserve the ability to go through everything. And I think what's important is you listen to the best thing any of us can do is get to know who we are, where our emotions are, things like that. Okay, think about when you're sick, when you're physically sick. Some of us know our body so well that a doctor might tell you, oh, no, I think it's this, and this. And you're like, no, there's something else going on here. I know there's something else going on here. And you find out later there was, because you know your body well enough. We need to understand our emotions that way also, because you will know down deep inside, okay, am I good where I am? Okay, have I truly mourned what's going on? And you know what? You may have lost someone in your life 25 years ago and never got the chance to mourn them. And at this point, you have so many walls built up around it because you're just dealing with life. And one day, those walls may come down and you may find yourself going back to some of these stages and dealing with the emotions now. And so there's so many things that can happen. And every one of those ways is right for the person. Okay, I've talked to my mom before where she's like, you know what, I really didn't cry about losing dad and everything right away. And I didn't do a lot of crying either. And I'm like, I cry at everything. I cry at freaking TV commercials. Okay. And I sat there looking at it and I'm like, you know what though? I'm mourning at the frame for me and what works for me. Okay. Grieving isn't holding me back. It's not holding me back from living my life. And that's the key. We all move forward with grief. We heal, we move forward. And hopefully we don't find ourselves reach a place where grief keeps us from moving forward. Because that's where the problems occur, is when people get stuck in their grief. Because grief hurts people many ways. So actually addressing some of those. What are some of the symptoms of grief? Okay. First one, okay, think back. All of us can think back to a time that we lost a friendship, a job. Okay, we moved, we lost someone we loved, whatever it be. Okay, you tend to lose all your appetite. Oh my gosh, after I lost my dad, I had no need to eat. Same when I lost my grandmother. I truly did not want to eat. I had no need to eat. Okay, I wasn't hungry in the least bit. I could go days without being hungry. I just didn't feel it. Okay, energy. Okay, just so many people, when they're dealing with grief, they just don't have energy. Their emotions are taking up so much of their energy. They don't have the physical energy to do the day-to-day things that they would like to do. And there you go, little girl. Okay, so a lot of times when you're dealing with grief, you'll find yourself just sitting around, not doing much. Okay, not going for runs, not going walking, not going out and doing things with people, whatever it be. That something becomes there. Also, sleep disturbances. Maybe you find yourself not wanting to sleep because you're going to dream about your loved one. Okay, or losing the job or whatever it is. Cassie. Okay, and you don't want to lose that. And also, you don't want to sleep. Or you are sleeping and you're just thinking all the time about everything that's going on, that you're just not able to truly get the rest that you need. And that all of this together, you can see how it starts building on each other. If you're not sleeping and you don't have much energy and you're not eating on top of it, it's starting the cycle. And that's why when a person gets stuck in grief, it's hard to pull out because all of these things are contributing to it. This next one, when I read, made complete sense. And I hadn't realized, but it's something I dealt with. Grief makes people physically cold. A lot of people will find out when they are grieving, hey, Robbie, love you, and Michael. Yeah, you love them too, don't you? And also, grief, especially children, when you're dealing with grief, you lose, for some reason, the ability to self-regulate your temperature. So a lot of us, I remember this specifically. Okay, after losing my dad, I would wear sweaters all the time. I was cold all the time. And I chalked it up to all sorts of things until I actually read about this being cold and not being able to regulate your temperature and realized that it was actually tied to grief itself. So, but especially children, they say children have a really hard time regulating their temperature when they're going through that loss and the emotional connection to it. And anxiety. Okay, so we talk about anxiety here and grounding yourself from anxiety, things like that. Okay, so a lot of times that anxiety, because you're looking at the future, okay, and all the changes that are happening in our futures and all due to that loss. So you start finding yourself getting, okay, shaking, okay, getting just all of those things that anxiety does. You get real shaky, you get sweaty, you just can't calm yourself down. And yes, knowing how to ground yourself becomes so important at that point. That 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with your senses, 5 things that you can see, 4 things you can hear, all those things. We talk about that in an earlier video. Okay, please go back to that because as we do these discussions, having that ability to ground yourself is super helpful. Gastrointestinal. Okay, think about when you're upset. Any type of upset, whether it's loss, anger, whatever, our stomach will tell us how we're feeling. Okay, a lot of times you'll find yourself, okay, upset stomach, okay, diarrhea, you name it, all that good stuff happening on because of the emotions you're going through at that time. Now, tied to that is we have a tendency, our immune system kind of peters out at that time because all of this is going on and our immune system kind of dips at that point. And when a person especially is stuck with grief in that cycle and all this continues, they will find themselves very, very quickly getting sick more often. Okay, they're getting colds all the time. They're catching this, they're catching that, whatever it is that's going on. Awesome, Crystal. I can't wait to talk to you about it. I can't wait because I need some more ideas for subjects. And so grief itself, if we don't find ways to work through it over time and not be scared of it, to recognize grief is part of life. Okay, these emotions are not something we have to run away from. Okay, it's okay. Grief, gang, grief can't kill you. Losing and mourning someone can't. It's like we talk with anxiety. Those emotions can't do that. It's okay to feel the emotions. Okay, you put together your toolkit, how you ground yourself, things that you do. Hey, AJ, and you move forward based off of that. And because if you stay in that, okay, whole cycle, you're getting yourself sicker and sicker over time. Okay, immune issues already showing up there. If you're getting sick regularly, are you dealing with things and your body's just like, you know what, if you don't listen to me, guess what? I'm going to throw, okay, the common cold your direction or something like that. Hey, Kelly. So how do you go about, okay, dealing with grief, getting past it, things like that? And that's what I kind of want to go through here. And we're going to go through some of this stuff quicker, some of this not as much. First, grief takes time. There is no end date on grief. Yes, we can look at the average person and get some ideas of time frames and all that and what grief is like, but it's different for each of us. Hey, Nicole. Okay, each of us are going to have a different journey on this. And each of us is going to have a different journey each time we go through grief. Okay, your first time dealing with a loss is not going to be the same as the second time. It might be easier to deal with, harder to deal with. Who knows? There's so many things that come into play here. So the first thing is recognizing that first year is probably one of the weirdest. Okay, some people, that first year is so numb, you're not even recognizing what's going on because you're so numb through much of the year. You're just trying to get from one emergency to another. Okay, how am I going to handle my bills this year? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And but the one thing that it definitely is it's a year that you're recognizing all the changes. It's one loss after another. Okay, your first Christmas, your first Thanksgiving, your first time of a birthday without them. Okay, the first time you go to a movie without someone. Okay, so that first year is loss after loss after loss. And because of that, I think is why so many people say it's not until the second year that they really start coming to terms with things. Because if you think about it, loss, one of the first stages of loss and grieving is shock. So if you're dealing with loss after loss after loss, you're dealing with shock after shock after shock. Okay, you're dealing with Christmas. Christmas is a shock because there's so many things that are different. Okay, you're learning birthday, things, all these things. So you are numb a lot of times. Many people will be numb that whole first year. Okay, or they'll be numb and then they start feeling, okay, maybe the depression of it or the anger, and then they go back to numb because they're feeling a new, okay, story, a new event happens or whatever is going on. Yes, JP, dealing with loss is easier when you learn to know your gains. That's true. That's true. And now, a lot of people will ask, what is the normal time for grief? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to give you some dates, but none of these are in stone. And everyone is different. And then in the end, there's going to be a reason. And we'll go through that. But the first, again, I mentioned there's complicated and uncomplicated grief or mourning. So uncomplicated mourning would be, okay, if you're dealing with something, okay, you knew someone was going to pass away, you lose them, whatever, okay, and it's one thing, maybe not multiple or something like, there's a lot of things that come into play for complicated trauma, things on that level. And now uncomplicated mourning, Many times, 2 to 3 years into it, you're starting to find yourself getting into the normal run of things. Life is starting to feel more normal again after 2 to 3 years. You're understanding what Thanksgiving is like without that in your life. Okay, whether it be a friend who moved away or someone that you've lost. Okay, things are starting to get into that normal feel. Now, someone with complicated mourning can last much longer, 5, 7 years, because there's so many things that are coming into play, because you're dealing with a higher level of trauma many times. Okay, someone, and yeah, and there, Crystoli, you hit it on the head. So many people see these time frames that are listed out there in the books and stuff like that, but they forget this. Grief lasts a lifetime. You're always going to feel grief. Grief doesn't disappear just because life gets better. And I think that's also part of the problem. How many times, okay, you start feeling normal. Okay, you actually have a good Christmas. You smile during Christmas and you laugh and you have fun with your family. And then you get home and you get mad at yourself because how dare you have fun when you lost someone? So then you're right back into it again. You're right back into it because you're like, oh my gosh, you get mad at yourself and stuff like that for how you're responding to it. It's okay. It's okay to live your life and have fun. That's what a lot of times when you lose someone, that's what they'd want. But you are always going to remember them. Something's going to happen that reminds you of them. Maybe it's a smell of cologne. Okay, maybe it is a certain song that comes on every year. Okay, maybe it's opening up your phone and Facebook, and your Facebook memories shows a picture of you and them. Hey, Chris, these things happen. And they're the times to remind us that, you know what? Life does go on. Okay, you still miss them and you always will miss them. Okay, there is no finish line to the grief because they were important. That job was important. Maybe that friend that was your best friend was important. Your child, okay, when they go off to college, okay, those young years when, okay, all the stories you have when they were like 6 years old are important. They're still going to be there, and certain days are going to be harder than others to deal with, and that's fine. So healing and personal needs. Now, we've gone through all this and we've got to start dealing with healing, whether it's something that we've dealt with this and it comes back or whatever. When we're dealing with mourning, with grief, trying to get through all this, there's a few things you need to know and remember. And those are your, hello, little girl. Okay, your physical needs, emotional needs, things like that. So I wanted to make sure everyone understands those, because if you drop any of those needs and you forget about those needs, it's going to make it harder for you to deal with everything as you move forward. So let me try to give this one something. So the first one is your physical needs. Okay, when you are healing from the loss of something, you need to remember your body needs things. You need to eat. Yes, okay, I love it. The people in the South, when I lost my great-grandmother, we went to the mainland, and let me see, did you share? Thank you all. I just shared this to my Facebook group. Did you share? Oh, okay. When we went to go, because my great-grandmother passed away, one of the things I notice, especially in the South, they do, everyone brings over casseroles or things like that when you've lost someone. And it really made sense, because if you think about it, you're not wanting to cook. You're not wanting to do all these things. And when someone brings you food, you need the food. You need to stay strong. You're going through so much stuff at that time, and having these things truly help. You need to stay healthy. You need to stay physically. Plus, we all do know exercise, things like that do increase our endorphins, which is going to keep us feeling healthy. And also remembering your physical needs, remembering your emotional needs. It's okay to feel. It's okay to cry. It's okay to just, so many times we get so scared of that emotion, whether it is crying, whether it is anger, and we slam down on it and we forget that we need to enjoy our time when we can enjoy it, and we need to feel when we need to feel. And there's no problem feeling those emotions. Your social needs. Okay, now this is one of the things. A lot of times when we are going through a loss, we tend to surround ourselves with friends. And that's great. That's great. Our friends know who we are, and they can help us a lot of times with issues that we're dealing. They could recognize issues. And but a lot of times they cannot relate with what's going on. They may never have lost a husband. They may not have moved thousands of miles from their best friend. Okay, they may never have been diagnosed with cancer. So finding people that you can relate with helps. Whether that's going on to Facebook, we were just talking a little in Facebook, okay, here on the chat about Facebook, but finding groups that you can talk with and can help you with those thoughts and try to help you figure out what is going on. You also have your cognitive needs. So I don't know about you guys, when I'm dealing with loss, I get really lost. Okay, put it that way. I can't concentrate. My attention span sucks, royally sucks. Okay, and I find myself not sure what the hell to do. And also, be good to yourself. Let you know that it's okay to forget things. Okay, no one is judging you during this time if you forget stuff. But you can do other things for yourself. You can simplify life during these times. You can write notes down, whatever it is that you need to do at that point. And spiritual. Okay, before we go into this last bit, spiritual area. This area tends to get a lot of us in trouble. We tend to start listening to certain comments people are saying and things like that. And a lot of times we take it very personal, or we see things different. Okay. And especially when you're on the outside trying to help someone, we'll make comments such as, oh, God was needing an angel. When you're stepping in from the outside trying to help someone, sometimes what we think is helping people actually may be upsetting them more. So if you're on that other side and you're hearing comments like that, okay, it's okay for you to say, okay, I not right now. Because there is anger. If you're hearing some of these lines during anger, you're going to go off in another whole direction. And so understand where you are spiritually at that time and where you need to be moving forward. And it's okay. You know what? For those of you who do have faith, God's not going to get mad at you if you yell at him a couple times. He's not. He knows what you're going through. He knows what you're going through. And also, okay, it's like any of us, we all know when you love and care about someone, you're not going to hold it against them. Because in the end, you know they're going to come back. Because they love you and they know you love them. And also, but yeah, Sherry, you want to just say, fuck you and your empty Hallmark quotes. I love that. Okay, I love that. Say right there. Because, and it is, people are trying to be nice. They don't know what to say. Okay, I don't know how many of you are watching the new Game of Thrones TV show, but after the king loses his wife and daughter, his daughter's lady in waiting or whatever comes up and says to him, When I lost my mom, everyone was coming in saying all these things when in reality, all I wanted them to say to me was, I'm sorry that happened. That's all. But it's hard. We don't know what we want to say. Cristola Loco, when somebody says I'm sorry, it can irritate people too. Okay, yep. I say it knowing that, but it's like, it's not your fault, you know. And that is true. I was reading Molly Burke is a amazing YouTuber who's blind, and I follow her. And she just did something about how people will always, when they come up to her and she's blind, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry you're blind. What are you going to do about it, number one? And hey, this is what life is for her. You don't need to be sorry about some of those things. But at the same point, okay, you know the person and how you handle it. And you know what? All of us are going to say things that are at the wrong time or whatever, things like that. I think as long as people know that you do care about them, that's the biggie. So our last section here, I wanted to talk about, I think it's 4 steps that you need to kind of go through as you are going through healing. Okay, as you are going through your bereavement work. So grief work itself. Okay, and there's a lot of different thoughts on it and everything. This is just one thought based off of it. And the first one is, as you start dealing with the loss, no matter whether it's the loss of someone who has passed away, a loss of a friend, loss of childhood, whatever it is, you need to experience the reality of that loss. Okay, so you're asking yourself, what does it mean that that person is no longer here? What does it mean to me now that my child is no longer a baby? Okay, what does it mean that my best friend moved to the other side of the country? Okay, come to terms that this is real. It's not, so many times we want to hide from the idea that these things are real, but we have to understand it's not a dream. It is real. These things are happening. And that's part of that first, those initial stages, shock, okay, denial, bargaining. That's what we're talking about here. Coming to terms that it is real. Okay, if someone has passed away, they're not ever gonna, my dad's never gonna come wake me up on a Saturday morning. Okay, if you're sick, you're never going to go to the doctor for a physical and the doctor just say, okay, there you go, everything's great like last year. It's not going to happen that way anymore. This is the new normal. Life has a new normal. Hey, Seal. Hey, my dear. No worries. So next is experience that pain. Experience the loss. Okay, it hurts. Whether you lost your loved one, okay, due to death, whether it is you coming to terms with the emotional side of finding out you're sick, whether it is your little girl or little boy going off to school, it hurts. And it's okay that it hurts. There's nothing wrong with you for it hurting. You need to recognize the emotions. When you feel anger, you need to know it's okay to be angry. Okay, the anger is helping you work through the issues. It's okay to feel the loss of control. Okay, you can't bring a person back. You talk about the worst loss of control in the world. Okay, when you've lost someone, okay, at least if you're sick or something, you feel like there's still some control, maybe, okay, by doing this treatment or stuff like that, you might have something going on. But you lose a loved one, you've lost all control. You don't have any control over things like this. And it's okay. It's completely okay. It's okay to be scared. Okay, if you are having to pay bills for the first time in your life, if you're worried about who's going to hug me when I'm scared in the future because the person who normally would hug you is now not there. Okay, it's okay to feel those fears and all because in feeling those fears, you learn how to deal with the fear or the emotion that's there. Cristola, Loco, when you have to deal with losing somebody you thought was a good friend and you did nothing wrong, oh, is that done? No, that's not done. Because most of the time when people die, they don't choose to leave you. Yes. And that is the hard part. When the loss is the loss of a friend who specifically chooses to leave, it brings in so many other. You're going to be dealing with all these emotions, the loss of control. Okay, the fear, the what did I do wrong type thing. And you're having to go through those emotions and figure out what it is and how you feel about it. And that's totally okay. And it's totally normal. Oh my God. In fact, I'll be honest with you. Okay, I think it's more than normal for you to have those fears. Because many of us, okay, we care when we care about someone else and they up and run like that. Okay, then you're left with all the questions. That's, for example, we talked last week. What if a parent abandons you as a child? Okay, or there's a divorce or something like that. The child is going through all of these emotions. And they're having to recognize that those fears are okay. It's okay for you to worry that you did something wrong. Okay, for you to be able to look at, okay, most likely you did nothing wrong. It's just something within that person. Okay, again, remembering, okay, assuming you're making assumption that it's something that you've done when most times it's something that's within the other person, something they're dealing with. Okay, and we've talked about that many, many times. And that's the thing, Cristola. Cristola just said, I can't figure out what I did. It's hard because I think a lot of times we want to know what we did wrong or why they did what they did. Could I have done anything different? Because then we could get into the bargaining stage. The bargaining stage is, well, if I do this differently in the future, will you not leave me? The problem is we may never find out. Because to be honest, many times it's not that it's the other person, and that other person may not even know themselves. Because they may not have, okay, they may not be at the place in their journey to be able to deal with those emotions. And yeah, I agree. Okay, those of you in chat, okay, PJ, I learned not to ask why. We only have control over what we have control over. And the hardest thing in the world is the woulda, shoulda, couldas. Because we want to have control over everything, and accepting that we don't have control over things is so hard. And once we realize that all we can do is do what we can do to the best of our ability. If you honestly can say, I have done everything I can do, you've done it. Because if you honestly feel that you've done everything you could have, then you know what? What could you have done differently? What could you have done differently? And you know what, friends, things like that, some of them are in our lives. Okay, it's that saying, some people are in our lives for a season, certain time frame. Some are for a reason. They're here to teach us something, or we're here to teach them something. Okay, and some for a time. There's all these things, okay? I talked about the bus ride. Our life is a bus ride. And thank you, PJ. Our life's a bus ride, and we're riding this bus. And people are getting on and off the bus our whole life, this whole ride. Okay, from birth to the moment we die, people are getting on. Some are going to get on and stay for 1 or 2 stops. We don't know why they're getting off the bus. Just like a regular bus ride, we don't know why they're getting off. They're just getting off. And they're going to continue their own ride. Others may be with us for 10 or 11 stops. Okay, everyone's for a different reason. And you just have to know that you've done the best that you can do. That's all we can do. So, love you, Cristola. That's a hard one for so many of us. Okay, so many of us. It's because we want to be there and help. We got a lot of people who are caring people here. And it's hard when you want to care and be there for people. And it's hard. And yeah, Crystal, a lot of people, friendship is for life. And you know what? Friends sometimes come in our lives, leave our lives, and they come back. Okay, my best friend was in my life, disappeared for many years, and now is back in my life. And so life takes us on these journeys, and we just have to know it's going in the right way. Hey, KDK. So next, with experiencing that pain and all, is ask yourself, why? Why am I angry? Why am I sad? Why am I scared? Important as you're healing, okay, and starting to try to work through this process is to understand why you're feeling the emotions you're feeling at that time. So I suggest your journaling. You have many other ways you can use for that, but pull out a piece of paper and try to keep track. Why are you angry? What is it that's making you so angry about what happened? Okay, what are you scared about? Because that's going to help you figure out what needs to happen, if there's something that needs to be addressed or not. Okay, next is, this little puppy just wants to be cuddled like crazy today. Adjust to the environment without the deceased. Okay, so as you're going through and you're accepting the emotions, you're recognizing the emotions, you have to start adjusting to life without the deceased or without whatever you have lost. Okay, whether it's a job, sickness, whatever it is. Adjust to life without this in your life. So if you're sick, okay, you're starting to adjust to life with a sickness. Adjust to life with, okay, out your mom or your dad in your life, whatever it is. Ask yourself, what was life like with that person in your life, with that job in your life, that friend? What is it going to be like now? Because part of going through this process is learning what life is going to be like moving forward. And the only way you can do that, yes, Crystal, you can definitely DM me with ideas for topics for next week. Definitely. Okay. Try to figure those things out. What was it like before? And what are the differences as I'm moving forward now? Next, now that you're working on that and you've kind of figured out this is what the past was like, this is what the future is like. Now, and this one's hard, okay, because a lot of times people would read this, withdraw emotional energy from the deceased and invest it into new. Oh, I can't just move on. I'm not going to forget this. Not saying forget, okay? No, you will never forget. You're never going to forget. I'm never going to forget my dad. But what I can do is take the energy I'm putting into the relationship I had with my dad, the energy that I had in mourning my dad, and I'm putting it into new relationships. I'm still honoring, respecting, loving my dad. Nothing's ever going to change there. But I'm going to take that energy that was spent on that relationship and I'm going to pay it forward. And so doing that, so keep the spirit of the past alive, but find ways to move on. If it's sickness or something like that, okay, yes, you were this person before you got sick. Now you're this person. So I'm going to take all that energy and stuff, all those positive things and all that life was before, and all the stuff I have right now with this, and I'm going to move it forward. I'm going to create new relationships. I'm going to be able to share new sides of who I am now and move forward. So that was a lot of stuff to get in, and went a little longer than I normally like to go on this, but there was a lot for this. So let me just ask, what are some of the takeaways? You guys know I do this every week. I have not even grabbed a drink of my drink yet here other than soda, but I have coffee here. What are some of your guys' takeaways? Okay, I'd really be interested. I know with me, my takeaway, as Manini, as small as it was the idea that we actually do get cold when we're going through loss and stuff like that. Our body does not regulate temperature as well. And so it makes sense to have jackets and stuff like that. What about those of you guys that are here? While I grab a drink, let's see if we can get a couple ideas of what you guys are using as your takeaway as you're moving forward. Oh, thank you for the takeaway, Loco. You're awesome. If only I'm playing with you, girl. Thank you, Crystal. I love you. This little one's takeaway over there is that it's time for a nap before I start the next live, and then she'll be barking again. So yeah, it's okay to feel all the feels. Yes, that's actually one of my biggest ones. Yeah, it's okay to feel. And I think that's with everything in life. So many times we don't want to feel all this stuff because feeling can be scary, but it's okay. And that is cool. You and I know the same coping skills, and I still, hey girl, and see, that's the thing, PJ, all of us have so much that we're working through. And I still, to this day, I still walk by my dad's picture every day. Okay. And I kiss him. I do that every day. It's my way of keeping my relationship with my dad. I talk to my dad. Okay. I'm not one who goes to the cemetery as much as other people do, but I have that. He's still here with me. And we all have our different things. So, okay. I know this is a hard one to cover because so many people work. Yeah, and that's it. That's the thing. Everyone has different ways of dealing with things, and that's fine. I see my PJ, I bet that's hard. I know there's times my mom and I have some amazing discussions about losing dad. And each of us approach it from different directions because of the fact it was her husband, her other half. For me, it was my dad. And so it's so many different things. So, okay, gang. So we are going to be doing Cantina today, and there's not a lot of time break in between this time because I did go on a lot longer than normal today. And but we got 30 minutes until Cantina. Let's see, Cristela, and the stages of grief are not exactly right because I've accepted it and I still get, and that's it. The stages, you go back and forth. There's no such, in fact, that's why if you notice, I did not put numbers by the stages because the stages, in fact, I saw one amazing little cartoon that said the way I think the stages of grief are, and it was this nice line, and then it said the way stages really are, and it was all this stuff doing this, and that's the way it is. So yeah, time for us to go. So you guys, we're going to be meeting together in 30 minutes. I'm going to go grab myself something to eat because the dogs are eating food, but I'm not. So we're going to do that one. Hello, Burden. And so if anyone has any ideas, please do send an email my direction. Let's see if Battissimo actually learned what I taught it earlier. I don't know. I haven't played with it well enough to know. So, well, it may not have done what I wanted. So anyhow, if you need to get in touch with me, please send me any. Oh, there it is. Battissimo did learn. Yay. My email's in chat now. And, but if you guys have anything you'd like to discuss with me, please do send me an email at thelocalmylife@gmail.com. And grab some food, grab some drink, grab a project if you're working on a project, and we'll come together and hang out. I got to teach Battissimo now that I know he's behaving himself. I can add a bunch of other things in there. I literally did that 10 minutes before we went live, so I wasn't sure what was going to happen with it. So, well, maybe 15 minutes before we went live. Yeah. Okay. Love y'all tons. I will see you in 30 minutes. I will see y'all very, very soon. Aloha, mahalo, and just keep it up one step up after another. I'm going to go deal with the dogs because they're driving me crazy. Bye-bye. And